Glory is fleeting, but obscurity is forever.
How to become the best versions of yourself. Because manhood is exceptionally hard, and life is hard. But how you shape yourself will determine how hard it is for you and how miserable it will be. I've said this many times in many different iterations on different podcasts, but I want to repeat it again. As a man, there is no easy life. If you're looking for an easy life, you should have been a girl. You made a mistake.
Yep.
Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have two effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. And being invisible, I would argue, is almost worse. You can have a very stress-free life if you work in Starbucks. You don't care about the Starbucks once you clock off. You're not at work at the time. You go home, you play video games, and you exist until you die. That's stress-free, but you have to suffer being a nobody. Alternatively, you can go out there into the world, try and implement your mark on the world, work hard, try to get rich, more money, more problems. You can try and start a business, the stress of that. You can lose your girlfriend because all you're doing is working. This is a new level of stress, a new level of trauma, but at least you'll be a somebody at the end of it. There's two ways to suffer. You either suffer to become a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody. What did Napoleon say?
He said, glory is fleeting, but obscurity is forever.
If you couldn't talk, you put on a t-shirt, you put on some jeans, and you can't talk, and you're walking around the world. When people look at you, why do they see you as a high-value man? Do you have anything you project? Do you project true bravery? Do you project true confidence? Or do you need to talk to try and convince people of these things? They say confidence is quiet. It can also be very loud, but you don't want to live in a delusion. You have to have some genuine things to back it up. Substance. And I feel like a lot of you didn't have a present father or a strong father figure to emulate, so you have no frame of reference for masculinity. So you see these idiots with a big mouth online, you think having a big mouth is going to be enough, and it's not enough for God. It's not enough for the reality of the world, because if you walk around with a big enough mouth, eventually you're going to get checked, you can get the shit kicked at you. Yep. And it's also not enough for females. You need to understand that if you convince a woman you're high value with your mouth and your mouth alone, sooner or later she's going to realize you are a liar. And that is when she's going to leave you. So if you're sitting at home thinking, well, I had this girl, she thought I was the man. A few months later, she's not that interested in me. Yeah, because she got to know you better. She saw behind the bravado, and she saw that you don't really have any genuine real-world achievements. You haven't really done anything that's super interesting. You have to do things that make men respect you for women to respect you. And usually those things require a degree of bravery. Men have always been respected for our bravery. We did the brave thing, and it is the brave thing on the other side of fear, which is going to build your character and build your internal self-belief, but it's also going to build a magic inside of you that a woman can see when she looks inside of your eyes. It's also going to build a magic inside of you that people can see when they look in your eyes. When people look in my eyes, they know I've been brave, and they know I'll be brave again, and they don't want to test my bravery because they know it exists, and they know it's been tested, they know it is real. Elevate themselves without any genuine substance behind it. And that's one of the largest mistakes, because that shows, one, insecurity, and two, when you're genuinely tested, and God will make sure that you are, you're going to fail. So it's very important you're not the kind of person who thinks, I understand I need to elevate myself as a man. I understand I need to be high status. I understand I need to be respected. I'm going to do that with a big mouth and no genuine capability to back that up. That's one of the biggest mistakes. In fact, it's extremely feminine.
And God's going to test you if you keep running your mouth.
God's going to test you. I really believe the reason we went to jail is because we became the most famous men in the world for our mental fortitude. And if you're going to be called the top G, and we're going to be the Tate brothers, and we're going to be known for our mental fortitude, God is going to test our mental fortitude by throwing us in a Romanian dungeon surrounded with cockroaches. There's no way you can become the top G of the planet. There's no way you can become the most famous brothers on earth and be respected for your mental fortitude and all the things you teach, and God not test you. And that's very important, because you have a duty to your ancestors and you have a duty to God. So you must make a choice. And this is genuine choice for you people at home. Do you want to live in obscurity forever and be invisible and not matter and have an easier life? I would argue that it's not easier, because in your heart and in your soul, you're going to feel guilty knowing you could have been something you're not, and you have a duty to your ancestors and to God to be the best version of yourself. Or do you want to try your absolute best and struggle and suffer every day of your life, paying the rent for all of the amazing things around you? We pay endless rent. We pay rent for our bodies. We pay rent for our relationships. We pay rent to keep our kids. We pay rent to keep our business. We pay rent to keep our freedom. Every single day is work to pay the rent. It's absolutely never ending, and you have to make that choice. So if you have a pen and paper in front of you, you need to decide, do you want to be invisible with a lower rent bill, or do you want to be important and work hard and suffer to make sure that the rent is paid? It's a choice you must make, and it's binary, and you must be extremely dedicated towards the decision you finally make. The two genders work in parallel. We're designed to work as a perfect unison. Femininity, and true masculinity go hand in hand, and they work perfectly when both genders understand their roles and fall into them completely. It's crazy. I see so many red pill guys, so many guys on the internet, so many men constantly complaining about women, not understanding that if one of the genders is broken, if one side of the yin is broken, the yang is going to break by extension. It's impossible to complain about women and the way women act if men are not acting the way they should act, because we're designed to work together. And I think as men, we have most control over ourselves, absolute self-accountability. So the best way we can fix the world, the best way we can change or fix women is to fix ourselves, look at ourselves, and be the best kind of men we can be. When you see a man who is constantly complaining about women, that's a reflection of him. If every woman he meets disrespects him, he will say women are disrespectful. I would argue he is not worthy of respect, because I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't want to hear. I don't meet bad women. When I'm around women, they treat me with absolute respect. They're extremely feminine. They're extremely soft. They're extremely kind. They let me lead. They let me take control. They let me do what I need to do as a man because they look at me and they respect me. And a woman is a reflection of her man. If I was less of a man, the same woman might treat me in a disrespectful way. But that is down to me, who I am. So when I see these men constantly complaining about women and the way women act and women in society, I understand what they're trying to do. But what they don't understand is if they took self-accountability, if the men all took self-accountability and truly became men of honor and capability and bravery worthy of respect, the women would reflect that. The women you interact with will reflect that.